Top 10 Evil People the FBI Wants You to Forget. Welcome to our video exploring some of the most notorious criminals in American history. These individuals have committed heinous crimes that have shocked the world and left a lasting impact on society. From Manson family member Tex Watson to the unidentified killers such as the Zodiac and the Alphabet Killer, we will be delving into the lives and crimes of these individuals. Through examining their actions and motivations, we can learn valuable lessons that can help us prevent similar atrocities from occurring in the future. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Now, let's dive in and learn more about these infamous criminals. 10. Tex Watson. Charles Tex Watson was a member of the Manson family, a cult led by Charles Manson. In August 1969, Watson was involved in the brutal murder of actress Sharon Tate and 4 other people at Tate's home in Los Angeles. The murders were part of a series of killings committed by the Manson family, and Watson played a key role in the massacre. He was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death, but his sentence was later commuted to life in prison after the California Supreme Court ruled the death penalty unconstitutional in 1972. Watson was a key player in the Manson family and was known for his violent and erratic behavior. He was present during the Tate LaBianca murders and participated in the killing of all 5 victims. Watson was also involved in other criminal activities such as armed robbery before his involvement in the Manson family. In prison, Watson has expressed remorse for his actions and become a born-again Christian. However, he has been denied parole multiple times due to the severity of his crimes. 9. Jamie Osuna. Jamie Osuna is a convicted murderer with a history of mental illness. In 2011, Osuna brutally murdered Yvette Pina in her California home. He was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to death in 2017. Osuna has been diagnosed with several mental disorders, including schizophrenia and borderline personality disorder. He has also been known to mutilate himself and eat parts of his own body. Osuna's mental health issues have been a major factor in his criminal behavior. He was known to have violent outbursts and was hospitalized multiple times for psychiatric treatment before the murder of Yvette Pina. Despite his mental health issues, Osuna was found to be legally sane at the time of the murder and was held fully responsible for his actions. His case highlights the need for better mental health care and support in the criminal justice system, particularly for those who suffer from severe mental illness. 8. Dale Hausner and Samuel Dieteman. Dale Hausner and Samuel Dieteman were a pair of serial killers who wreaked havoc on the Phoenix area in Arizona in 2005 and 2006. Their crime spree included 8 murders and several other violent attacks. Hausner and Dieteman often targeted people at random, driving around the city at night looking for potential victims. They used a variety of weapons, including guns and knives, and showed no mercy to their victims. They even killed a 4-year-old child who was sleeping in her bed. The 2 killers were roommates and had a long history of drug abuse and criminal behavior. They shared a deep hatred for society and were determined to inflict as much harm as possible. After their arrest, Hausner and Dieteman were both found guilty and sentenced to death. Their heinous crimes had a profound impact on the Phoenix community, causing fear and anxiety among residents. 7. Charles Ng and Leonard Lake. Like Hausner and Dieteman, these criminals worked in a pair. Charles Ng and Leonard Lake were a notorious duo of serial killers who operated in Northern California in the 1980s. They kidnapped, tortured, and killed at least 11 people, including women, children, and infants. Ng and Lake shared a twisted fascination with firearms, survivalism, and sadistic sexual practices. They built a bunker in the remote wilderness where they kept their victims captive, subjecting them to unimaginable horrors. The 2 killers were both ex-military and had a meticulous approach to their crimes. They recorded videos of their torture sessions as well as detailed logs of their activities. Ng and Lake also used their victims' identities to purchase weapons and equipment for their crimes only came to light when Lake was caught shoplifting at a local hardware store. He committed suicide in police custody, but Ng was eventually captured and brought to trial. He was found guilty of 12 counts of murder and sentenced to death. The case of Ng and Lake remains one of the most gruesome and disturbing examples of serial killer partnerships in history. 6. Israel Keyes. Israel Keyes was an American serial killer who was active from 2001 to 2012. He is believed to have killed at least 11 people across the United States, with some experts believing that the actual number of his victims could be much higher. Keyes was known for his methodical and organized approach to killing, which involved using kill kits that he prepared in advance. These kits contained items such as weapons, cash, and other supplies that he would need to carry out his murders. Keyes would hide these kits in remote locations, allowing him to travel to different parts of the country to carry out his killings without leaving a trace. Keyes was also known for his ability to blend in and avoid suspicion. He did not have a specific victim type and would often choose his victims at random. One of Keyes' most chilling aspects was his complete lack of remorse. He once stated that, "There are people who know me who would be very surprised to learn what I've done, and they will never learn the truth." Keyes was arrested in 2012 and committed suicide in his jail cell, taking the details of many of his murders to his grave. 5. Robert Hansen. Robert Hansen, also known as the Butcher Baker, was an American serial killer who operated in Alaska during the 1970s and 1980s. Hansen was known for kidnapping young women and taking them into the wilderness, where he would hunt them down like animals. He was convicted of killing 17 women, although it is believed that he may have killed many more. Hansen's modus operandi was to gain the trust of his victims by offering them rides in his car. Once he had them alone, he would take them to remote locations and then rape and murder them. Hansen was a skilled hunter and tracker, which allowed him to elude police for many years. One of the most disturbing aspects of Hansen's crimes was the way he treated his victims. He would often torture them before killing them, and in some cases he would release them into the wilderness and hunt them down like a game. Hansen was eventually caught when one of his intended victims managed to escape. Hansen died in prison on August 21, 2014, at the age of 75. He was serving a life sentence plus 461 years without the possibility of parole for his heinous crimes. 4. The Alphabet Killer. The Alphabet Killer, also known as the Double Initial Killer, terrorized the Rochester, New York area between 1971 and 1973. The killer's nickname came from the fact that his victims' first and last names began with the same letter, and the killer left a cryptic message in one of the victims' note stating that there were 13 victims, one for each letter of the alphabet. The killer's first victim was Carmen Colon, a 10-year-old girl who was abducted while walking home from school. Her body was found a few days later, and her cause of death was determined to be asphyxiation. The killer struck again 6 months later, taking the life of another young girl, Wanda Walkowitz. The third and final victim was Michelle Maanza, a teenager who was abducted while hitchhiking. Her body was found several months later in a rural area outside of Rochester. Despite an extensive investigation, the Alphabet Killer was never caught, and the case remains unsolved to this day. 3. The Zodiac. The Zodiac Killer is one of the most notorious and enigmatic serial killers in American history. The killer operated in Northern California during the late 1960s and early 1970s, and is known to have killed at least 5 people, although he claimed to have killed as many as 37. The killer taunted the police and the media with cryptic letters and ciphers in which he claimed responsibility for the murders and threatened to kill again. He also demanded that his letters be published in newspapers, or else he would kill more people. The Zodiac Killer's victims were typically couples who were attacked while parked in secluded areas. The killer would approach the car, sometimes wearing a black hood, and open fire with a .22 caliber pistol. The killer's final confirmed murder was in 1969, but he continued to send letters and ciphers to the media and police for several more years. Despite an extensive investigation, the Zodiac Killer was never caught, and his identity remains unknown to this day. The case has inspired numerous books, movies, and documentaries, and has become a cultural phenomenon. 2. Gary Ridgeway. Gary Ridgeway, also known as the Green River Killer, was responsible for the murder of at least 49 women in Washington state between 1982 and 2001. He was convicted in 2003 and is currently serving a sentence of life without parole. Ridgway's modus operandi involved picking up sex workers and runaways and taking them to secluded areas where he would strangle them. He often returned to the dump sites to have sex with the bodies and would sometimes even take items of their clothing as trophies. Ridgway's killing spree lasted for nearly 2 decades before he was finally caught, due in part to advancements in DNA technology that allowed investigators to match his DNA with samples found on the victims. In exchange for a plea bargain that spared him the death penalty, Ridgeway provided details about his crimes and helped investigators locate the remains of several victims. 1. Jeffrey Dahmer, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, was responsible for the murder of 17 young men and boys between 1978 and 1991. Dahmer's modus operandi involved luring his victims to his apartment where he would drug them and strangle them. He would then dismember the bodies and sometimes even engaged in cannibalism. Dahmer was caught in 1991 after one of his would-be victims escaped and went to the police. When officers searched Dahmer's apartment, they found a horrific scene, including human remains in his refrigerator and freezer. Dahmer was convicted to 15 counts of murder and was sentenced to life in prison. In 1994, Dahmer was beaten to death in prison by a fellow inmate. The world has been witness to some of the most heinous and disturbing crimes committed by serial killers. Society needs to learn about these criminals, their methods, and their motives to prevent similar tragedies from occurring in the future.